Suits LA Episode 2 introduces a new antagonist to the series, and it seems all but certain that her presence will provide the excuse the show needs to put Ted Black, Stephen Amell, and Stuart Lane, Josh McDermott, on the same side of the table for at least a little while. After a number of Suits LA's negative reviews criticized the show for throwing too many backstories at viewers without properly establishing them, Episode 2 takes the time to flesh out Suits LA's story a bit more patiently. One particular backstory established in Episode 2, Old Man Hanrahan, involves the latest addition to Suits LA's cast of characters. Pro bono lawyer Amanda Stevens, Maggie Grace, didn't receive a lot of character building in the series premiere, which did little to establish her as anything more than Ted's snarky potential love interest. But the series' new villain reveals a tragic footnote in Amanda's past, the implications of which may be strong enough to bring Amanda, Ted, and Stuart together in a united front against a common enemy. Suits LA Episode 2 introduces Sophia Penn as Elizabeth Smith as Lester's ruthless prosecutor. Her history with Amanda shows just how formidable she can be. While most of Old Man Hanrahan centers on Rick and Erica competing over Victoria Justice's Dylan Pryor, the episode's title refers to a new development in Ted's upcoming murder trial. Although Amanda tells Ted opposing counsel will be an ineffective prosecutor named Hanrahan, he instead finds himself faced with the much more intimidating Elizabeth Smith. She at first appears to be simply combative and somewhat ambitious, but Elizabeth exposes her ruthlessness when she gloats over jailing a defendant of Amanda's who was murdered in prison. Her pride in winning the case demonstrates zero compassion for the man's death. Amanda warns Ted shortly after Elizabeth's introduction that she's the sort of prosecutor who will do anything to win a case. Ted initially worries that Elizabeth will learn his client Lester, Kevin Weissman, was stealing money from his alleged victim, but this never comes to pass. Instead, Elizabeth revokes Lester's plea after learning the deceased was sleeping with his wife, giving him clear motive. Her cunning in this reveal already warrants assistance enough to justify Harvey Specter's Suits LA return, but Stuart might make an even better ally for Ted and Amanda against someone like Elizabeth. Smith's introduction in Suits LA makes Stuart more likable. He at least seems to have a few ounces of compassion. Josh McDermott as Stuart Lane in Suits LA. Stuart's portrayal of Ted in Suits LA Episode 1 seems to set him up as a series villain, but Episode 2 casts him in a more favorable light. He may not show it when poaching clients, but comparing Stuart and Elizabeth's roles in Suits LA Episode 2 reveals him to be more compassionate than he initially seems. When Samantha tells Stuart that he jumped the gun in hiring Rick when the plan was to keep a mole in Ted's firm for 6 months, Stuart nonetheless gives Rick a chance to prove himself rather than revoking the lead entertainment position like Samantha wants. This turns out to be the right call, but Stuart responds with seemingly uncharacteristic humility. Rather than rubbing it in her face that he was right, Stuart agrees with Samantha that he overstepped and should respect her authority on entertainment law. Although he might be ruthless in a corporate sense, Stuart clearly does have a sense of right and wrong. Since it's implied by Amanda that Elizabeth uses underhanded tactics to win cases, Stuart would probably recognize the threat she poses to defense attorneys. This paves the way for Stuart and Ted to reach common ground. Suits LA giving Ted and Stuart a common enemy makes their reconciliation easier. Even a temporary alliance would make sense under the circumstances. Stephen Amell as Ted Black and Josh McDermott as Stuart Lane in Suits LA. With both firms dedicating half their focus to criminal defense, Elizabeth could prove equally troublesome for both Ted and Stuart. Even though he might not believe in Lester's innocence, Stuart has a vested interest in taking Elizabeth down a peg or two. In the event of Suits LA's Season 2 confirmation, the series could find ample opportunities for Ted and Stuart to reach a place of professional courtesy. But Lester's trial presents them with the chance to mend fences in the more immediate future. Even if the two merely forged a temporary alliance against a shared enemy, it would lay important groundwork for their future resolution. Ted's first foray into a new area of legal practice would likely prove humbling, and Stuart witnessing that would help ease the tensions that led to their falling out. Because it already established a penchant for twists and betrayals in Suits LA Episode 1, there's no reason to believe this alliance would necessarily stick permanently. But even if not, seeing the two current enemies work together even once would do a lot to develop their character dynamic.